Hey guys, Sean Zinn, the Connection Machine, aka the Insurance Doctor. We have live number 63 today. Again, it's lunchtime. I had a little later yesterday. Lunchtime as usual. You're having your lunch, having your Cliff Bar, you're having your protein drink. And you're also here to get value. You are here to learn something. But also, besides learning something, you're here to make sure that we don't want you to learn things and don't implement. So, right now, I'm just making sure everything's public. If you are new to StreamYard, make sure that's done so those that are engaging the live itself can. But reminder, we need you to love, we need you to hit the wow button, we need you to drop a comment. We're here to educate and also for you to learn. So if there's things that you have questions about, drop a comment, drop where you're watching us from, and don't forget to share our live. Let me bring on my guest, Ronald Maver. What's going on, my man?
Hey, Sean, how are you? What's going
I'm
on?
doing
Thank you for having me
awesome.
on.
This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So, for those that don't know who you are, can you give us a little introduction, a little bio of who Ron Maver is?
Yeah, of course. So, I'm Rob Maver. I just opened up. I'm the founder of a new company called First Mile Sucks Running. It's a company that supplies coaching for runners as well as running apparel. First Mile Sucks being our main slogan. A lot of people in the running industry know that once you get out on the road, you start running. That first mile when you're out of bed, or anytime you run that first mile, it's a common saying that, man, that first mile sucks. But once you get past that, people find a zen, they're able to get into it a little bit. And I kind of stumbled upon this. This is my first venture into opening my own business. I've worked as a stagehand at the Metropolitan Opera House for the last 20 years. And during this pandemic, the performance has stopped in March, and we've been home for 12 weeks. I had been working on getting my USCA running coach license before that, anyhow. But this time off afforded me to, rather than sit around, decide to take action and move forward and try to follow a passion that I have, that I really care about, and I think I could help people with it. And it was just a really, really great idea that I thought could really take off.
Now, it's so true. As far as that first mile or that beginning of a workout, it does suck, especially if you did a lot of miles the day before, night before. It's, that mindset. Mindset is everything. And how does it help you as far as, when you're in that day, you wake up, you're like, I got to run today, but I really don't freaking want to run. What allows you to make it happen?
As you more and more, you develop your coping mechanisms, for lack of a better term, or your mindset. That's the most valuable tool that you can have. Your mind will give up far quicker than your body. As someone who's run not only marathons but ultra marathons, I've run 50-mile races. I'm currently training for a 100-mile race in September down in Virginia. On top of that, on back of that, I'll be running a 75-mile race with a combined 32,000 feet of elevation in Georgia in November. So through these techniques, I've been able to always develop a certain mindset, but it wasn't easy. However, with the problem is most people don't give enough respect to running, in the sense that they just put their shoes on, any old shoes that they have, tennis shoes, go out, start running without a plan, how much distance they want. It would be the same thing as if you went to the gym, put 400 pounds on a barbell and tried to lift. It's impossible. There's no science to it. So when you do that, you're setting yourself up for failure. However, if you set small incremental goals, whether it be, for me, it may be 50 miles. For the next person, their ultimate goal may be a 5K, and that's fine. But you'll never be able to just go out and run 3 miles. You have to work your way up to it the same way. Following my plan, not only will you be able to work your way up to it, you'll develop the mindset, which is the most important thing of being able to push through it.
There's a couple comments being made. One from Stella. She says she hates running. I always get a cramp on my side. Is that something that comes about because physically that happens, and maybe she ate before she went running? What usually can cause something like that as far as cramps?
Yeah, cramps are usually a hydration issue. more times than not. It could also be a sodium issue. When you run, a good trick would be you also have, as much as you can underhydrate, you can also overhydrate. You have to be able to find a balance with the proper amount of sodium, with the amount of hydration, glucosamine, glycogen, everything plays a part in it. So it could be just as simple as, not having enough sugar in your system for your muscles. Your muscles will burn through the sugar before anything. It could be having too much water, not enough water. You didn't eat right. You could just not be ready to make that kind of distance. You could have to work your way into a run-walk program, which is what I recommend before anybody. If you're just a beginner, I highly recommend a run-walk program.
Then you had Matthew Victoria say that, yeah, the mind is a muscle that needs to be worked out. And like Ron was saying, doing the marathon, when you train for a marathon, it's 26.2 miles. You don't just run 26.2 miles today, tomorrow, next day. You got to gradually work your way up to that point. But in reality, a marathon is all mindset, right, Ron? Because you really train mostly 13, 14 miles max. And then you have to make sure you focus the remainder part of that the miles left in that marathon, correct?
Yeah, 100%. Most of the time, your longest run will be 20, 22 miles that you work your way into it. And it should be about 6 months worth of training. However, the biggest problem everyone has is when they go out, they're just looking at, I have to run 26.2 miles. If you do that, it's too much. What you have to do is find an increment that works for you. And the way I do that personally is I break it down into quarters, or percentages. So when I get, say, 2.6 miles in or three miles in of a marathon, I know that's at 10%. So all right, I did that 10 times. Now if I get to 6.2, all right, that's it. I know that I only have 20 miles left. Then when you get to 13, it's 15. You have to talk yourself through it. You have to. It's so important that to not get caught up in the big picture. You have to sit there and break it down little by little. And you have to learn to do that during your training. There's days that you're tired and you're like, all right, you know what? If you look ahead, if you're running on the street, you say, I'm just going to make it to that street sign. And then when you make it to that street sign, you get there, then you say, I'm just going to make it to that tree. And then you make it to the tree. Same thing with marathon. You have to break it up. Like when I did the 50, I broke it up into stages of 10 miles for each one. So when I got to 10 miles, I knew that I was 20% done. 20% is pretty good. Now, when you get to 15 miles, you're nearly 33% done. So I gained 13%, nearly 13%. You're just at 30%. So I gained 13% in only 5 miles. So now when I get to 20 miles, I know I'm 2/3 of the way done. So now I'm 40%. So now when I get to 25, I know 50%. If you break that down into that and not worry about it, just worry about getting from 10 to 15 to 5. You could do the same thing when you first start off running. You're not going to be able to go out and run 3 miles if you haven't run in 10 years. If you're able to go and say, all right, if I can run a minute this time, you run a minute. Then next week we work on it. We'll build you up to the point that you're able to run those 3 miles. You have to be able to talk yourself through it. You have to get over the fear of it. People have a fear of pushing their bodies. Once something gets uncomfortable, they want to stop. That's not when you're done. Your mind is a defense mechanism because you're putting it out there and you're making it stressed. That's fine. Run through that. You are not even close to being done. You'll know when you're done. And when you have a cramp or when you have something, even if you just walk, then you walk, you regain your mental capacity. You talk yourself through it. You realize that you have way more in your system than you think you did.
I think that's 100% correct. And it's something that you have to work on. Yeah, if you go out and run 3 miles today and you haven't run in like years, the next day or two is going to be very, very painful for you. So if you're doing anything, you should start light and gradually work yourself up. You brought up earlier that you don't want to be running with, maybe flip-flops. You might not be running with, flat Converse sneakers. There's running shoes for a reason because you need the protection for those long miles you're going to be putting on.
Yeah, not only the running shoes used for that, there's also different types of gait that your running style requires a different kind of shoe. Some people like a minimalist shoe, which is very little protection. Some people overpronate. They need a stability shoe. Some people underpronate. So what I do before anything, and I've had any of the clients I've worked with in the past will attest to this. We do a simple test just to find out how your feet operate when you run, and then I send you a suggestion of shoes. It's made a world of difference in anybody I've ever helped out with. You cannot go into a Foot Locker and buy a pair of running shoes. It's not the way to do it. They don't fit you properly. They're not the right style. It depends on your foot. It makes such a huge difference. It's like going to play football with a helmet that's 3 sizes too small or too big. You can't do it. It's the most important piece of equipment that you can buy, and people don't take the time before to investigate it or don't have the knowledge. It's never talked about. I can't stress how important it is to go do that. The other thing is, another common mistake a lot of people do is that they buy, if you wear a size 9 shoe, they buy a running shoe in a size 9. That's a big, big mistake. You should go at least half a size. I personally recommend a full size bigger. So if you normally wear a size 9, you should be purchasing your running shoes in a size at least 9.5. I recommend a size 10. It allows, as you run, your feet are going to swell. They're going to sweat. They're going to build up. They're going to retain water. It gives you the room to avoid blisters. It makes a huge difference. People get intimidated when they realize it's a full size bigger, but it doesn't fit like a regular shoe. I can't stress it enough how imperative it is. Even so when I run the ultras, I'll buy like this 100-mile run that I'm going to do in September. I'll probably have 4 pairs of shoes stashed, and I'll go up until 2 sizes bigger. Because if I find that if I get 60, 70 miles in, if my feet are just blowing up, you need that extra room. I personally haven't done it. I've talked to other ultra runners, and you'll see it in that people have actually cut out the top of their shoes to let their toes hang out. Your feet swell that much when you run.
That's value right there.
Yeah, another mistake going through with shoes, just to go over it, you have to determine what kind of surface you want to run on. If you're somebody that lives up in the woods, you have beautiful trails, and those are the surfaces that you want to go on, you got to invest in trail running shoes. If you're somebody who's on the road or on the track, then you have to get road running shoes. If you go out on a trail with a pair of road running shoes, the bottom of your feet are going to look like hamburger meat in a couple of hours.
That's something that's so true, and you don't want to go cheap. You hear that in business, you hear that in running. It's important that you make sure you have the right pieces of equipment no matter what. And there's a bunch of you jumped on today, and we appreciate you. Definitely drop a wow comment, hit the share button. Again, I try to remind others, because the more that we can have our opportunities to speak to your friends, the more exposure we all get and the more value that we bring. Now, Ron, what got you into running? Some people have mixed feelings about running. You've used and been doing running for a long time, and you actually have seen major improvements across your life, relationships, etc. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I personally can't stress how much running has meant to me personally and how much it's saved my life. I grew up in Kearney, New Jersey, which is obviously a big soccer town. Anyone in the area knows that. So I grew up playing soccer, my whole life. And then as time goes on, you get bills, you get kids, you get everything else, and you forget things. You start going out, you're drinking, you're eating, you're not doing the right thing. And that's fine when you're 21, 22, you can kind of bounce back from it. But as you get closer to 30, it's a little rough. So I had fallen out of shape. And then in 2006, 2007, my son was born 2007. My wife was pregnant 2006. I decided to start running again, try and get myself in shape. So I was able to do that. I signed up. I ran the 2007 New York City Marathon. Again, when I first went back, and I couldn't even make a mile around the track. Inside a year, I was able to run a marathon. I just worked my way up gradually, as I talked about, with a walk-run program. And then for the next, I would say, probably better part of like the next 6-7 years, I struggled back and forth with running, not running, running, not running, running, but it was always a constant. And then a couple of years, I would say maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I found myself, I stepped on the scale, I was 185, which was the heaviest I had ever been. I'm not a big guy. And that's when I really, really buckled down, decided to fully commit myself to eating right, cutting out the nonsense, make it a full body transformation. I'm currently 145 pounds. Not only physically, I attribute running more mentally than anything, in terms of, if you're on your couch, if you're thinking about, should you do it, should you not do it, I'm a big advocate of it. I think it helps with depression. I think it helps with anxiety. I myself have had anxiety issues in the past. I struggled with it for a long time. It was part of the reason that I was overcompensating. I wasn't properly working out. I didn't have the full belief in myself that I would be able to run these distances. And when I really, really committed myself back to it, I would just sign up for a 50 miler, and then that was it. I would full. But I also found that as I made these minor accomplishments, working my way up towards the 50, I gained more and more strength mentally. I was able to conquer things that I was not able to conquer before, in terms of inner unrest, in terms of anxiety. That overall, it's benefited not only me physically. I'm pretty much unrecognizable from what I was 3 years ago, but I'm even more unrecognizable mentally from what I was 3 years ago. I'm fully confident. I have a better relationship with my wife. I have a better relationship with my kids. I equate it to not modern day, but I equate it to a moving meditation. You're able to get out there. You're able to work your way through whatever problems you have. And even if you're, say, 50 pounds overweight, once you get to 40 pounds overweight, you feel so much better. Not physically, I'm sure, as well, but mentally. You're like, all right, I conquered that. And as you make these small increments, when you run your first mile, you feel great. When you run that first 5K, there's a feeling from that no one can ever take that away from you. You've accomplished something that no one ever thought was possible. People doubt you, or people think you're nuts. You have to get used to the fact, if you're going to, I'm not expecting everyone to run 100 miles, but that for me is where I got to find it. You have to find that hurt within you, and you have to embrace it, and you have to run that out of you. And you will find that there's a peace in that hurt. It's a physical hurt, but it's a mental hurt too. And you have to find what drives you deep, deep down in you. And sometimes you got to go places that you don't want to go. As runners, we call it the pain cave. And that's when you go deep inside your mind and you find whatever it is that motivates you. You find that pain. It doesn't have to be at the 50-mile mark. It could be at the 2-mile mark. It could be the first time you run 4 laps around the track, and that's 1 mile, but you dug deep to get that in. You cannot replace, no pill, no medicine, nothing will replace that happiness and satisfaction that you get knowing that you've done something that nobody thought you could do.
Getting outside your comfort zone, that's a huge thing. I talk about this a lot with business, with my fitness. I'm getting back into it. Again, there's different ways, and I'm always preaching you should be moving no matter what. If it's running, if it's lifting weights, if it's doing any martial arts, you might do some at-home workouts like I do, as long as you keep moving, because it helps across the board, no matter what you're involved with. The anxiety, a lot of people have that. Mental health is very, very high right now with major issues with all this quarantine. It allows you to relieve stress. So it's important to definitely get on board for what you want to achieve. And it's just get started. Try something. And don't just quit after a couple of days after you're sore, it hurts, it sucks. Just like Ron's website. Let's check it out. We have, again, it's First Mile Sucks, fmsrunning.com. And there's a lot of different things here. You want to talk about your, I guess, the gear, your coaching program, anything coming up in the near future you want to explain?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have 2 tiers of coaching available. If you click on that, there'll be tier 1 and tier 2. Tier 1 is $100 a month, which is about the cost of a Starbucks coffee, probably even less than a Starbucks coffee every day. What that does is we'll start off with an initial Zoom call. I'll find out what your goals are, what your guidance is. There's no commitment to it. During the Zoom call, we could talk. We meet just like me and you would talk. We're not talking about, we will get to the point of races and whatever you may have come up, but I want to know what you've struggled with, what's going to drive you, what's going to motivate you to stay with this program. Could it be something that I myself have struggled with? It could help you out. What I'll do upon that is finding out on where your base fitness level is. I will then go and develop a custom schedule for you. I'll develop it over a spreadsheet, send it out in 4-week blocks. You don't have to adhere to those 4 weeks. You can unlimited text and email to me. We'll have weekly assessments where we'll speak. We can figure out if things are working for you. If it's not, if you tell me it's too hard, we can dial it back. If you tell me it's too easy, we can up it by following your goals and your heart rate. I'll find out if you're have a goal of a fat loss goal. That's different than a race goal. So we're going to design your program differently. You're going to want to keep your heart in a different heart rate zone. You're not going to want to max out your heart rate. You're going to look for a max fat burning heart rate. If you're training for a specific race, then we're not going to worry about the heart rate as much as developing a technique for that race. I'm also going to take you through, as we said before, I will get you in the right shoes. I'm going to take you through nutrition highlights. I'm going to take you through hydration during races. I'll teach you about the mental tricks that I use myself. Anything that you want, I will basically be a one-stop shop for you. It's so important in terms of nutrition, tricks, when to take sodium, when not to take sodium, when you drink Gatorade, how long you should be running before you eat. Should you eat during the run? How long should the run be? You need a plan. I still need plans. I still speak to people for advice. I still go to a coach if I'm getting ready for a distance that I haven't attributed. You always can gain something, and it's a month to month. There's no commitment. Give it a month shot. If you don't like it, then drop. But I guarantee you that you will not be disappointed. What's going to happen is running is going to change your life in ways that you never thought possible. If you commit to this program, you're going to run and you're going to get into a routine. Then you're going to start feeling guilty about not running. And what's going to happen is the night before, if you say you want to go out and drink and have a good time, you're going to sit there and you're going to have that in the back of your mind that no, I have to get up and running. And eventually those scales are going to tip where the running is going to become more important than anything else.
It's value, and it's something that everyone needs to take a chance. You always have to have a coach that will keep you accountable. The accountability piece is so important no matter what. And like Ron was saying, it's a month. And I always guarantee in a month, things are going to change in your life if you're being forced to do certain things. And not forced like Ron or I don't just yell at you and as we're coaching in our respective fields, but it's something that will hold you accountable. It's something that everyone needs it. No matter who you are, people have somebody, a mentor, a coach that they look up to, that they go to it for advice, that person might not know everything, but they know how to motivate you. And that's the key thing of why you use a mentor or a coach.
The other thing is, not to cut you off, is that, I'm just like everybody else. I'm nothing special. I was not a high school sprinter. I'm not going to win races right now. I'm a middle of the pack runner. I'm not some gifted athlete. I'm not superhuman. I'm just a guy that got tired of living a certain way and changed it in the sense that I found running. I developed these mental techniques on my own, not on my own. I've taken other people's advice, but I've developed what's worked for me. I've passed this on to other runners for free for years now, and I'm still passing stuff on. I'm more than happy to share knowledge with anybody. But the bottom line is I'm just like you. I'm nothing, I'm a 5'9", 145-pound guy. There's nothing extra special about me. Up until this epidemic or pandemic, I was working 70 hours a week as a stagehand. I was working basically as a stagehand. You go in at 8 in the morning or 9 in the morning, and you come out of work at 11:30 at night, at least 5 times a week. So that was always a built-in excuse for me until I decided that I didn't need a built-in excuse anymore. If I had to get up at 4 in the morning to go, I'd get up at 4 in the morning. There was most of the time I get up about 4 or 5 in the morning. Both my kids play travel soccer. My wife works. We have, we're all over the place, all over the weekends. I work most Saturdays. Sundays, if I have to, I'll get up at 4 or 5 in the morning and do it. And, trust me, that first mile sucks and I don't want to do it. But, just here's another mental tip for you. You have to commit. All you have to do is set the alarm. You have to take things and everything in stages. So I set the alarm. That's one decision that's out of my hands. Now I have a second decision. I can either get up or not. If I decide to get up, what I do is the night before, I lay everything out next to my bed before I go running, with the exception of my shoes. No shoes in the house. But all my gear is sitting right there. So now, before I hit snooze, I got to look down on that floor. And that running gear is staring right back at me. So now I got to have that conversation with me. Am I going to look at this and not do it? Or am I going to feel bad and do it? The first couple of days, you're not going to want to do it. But if you force yourself to do it, then all of a sudden, guilt creeps into your mind where you feel more guilty about missing it than you would if you got back into bed. So you get up, you get dressed, you just go in, you brush your teeth, and then you get out the door. You don't even give yourself time to think about it. Most of the time, I still have sleep in my eyes. But you know what? I'm already outside. So by the time you're dressed, you've already committed that far. So now if you've come that far, you're not getting back in bed. You might as well get out the front door. If you get out the front door, then you might as well run. This whole technique will carry you through. You'll get used to doing things that you don't want to do until they become things that you do want to do.
And they're habits you need to have, not to cut you off, Ron.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, there's a certain pride you will develop. There's a certain confidence and almost an arrogance that when you're out there and it's a Sunday morning, and up here especially, I mean, you take a January or a February Sunday morning, and you're the only guy out on the road. There's something about that in your head that if you are down the first couple miles, you look around and you're like, you know what? Like I'm a bad mofo. I'm the only guy out here. I'm tougher than anybody else. If I can do this while everyone else is tucked away in their bed, sleepy, tight, there's a certain toughness that you will develop, and there's a certain pride in that you know what? You're right. I am nuts, but I'm nuts in a good way. In that, you know what? Someone may drive by and they may see me and they may be like, if this guy's out there, why can't I do it? There's a certain pride knowing that you're willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do.
100%. And I hope that those that are watching, and even those on a replay, and those that get to know who we are, we're here to help you grow. And that's part of it, your fitness, your health. And please, friend request Ron, check him out. Check out his website, fmsrunning.com. Again, I'll put that up on the screen again. It's in the comments below. Actually, right here, so that everyone can check that out. Check out his coaching program. Test it out for 1 month. See what happens. I guarantee you, things are going to change in your life. And when things start changing, you'll have no problem, continuing with him, because I know the advice he gives is from the heart, and he works hard, and he's done things that, has changed his life, as he explained in our conversation today. So I wanted to thank Ron for coming on today. Is there any final thoughts for everyone that's watching?
Yeah, I just also want to add that in addition to the coaching services on the site, we also offer it could be an ever-expanding line of running gear as well. We have currently there's tech shirts, which is a sweat-resistant shirt, has First Mile Sucks written across the front, so everyone knows how you feel. The company logo is on the back. We have these T-shirts that I'm currently wearing, which is the company logo. This is actually a picture of myself getting out of bed in the morning. My wife took it, and putting on a pair of shoes at the edge of bed, wondering why the hell am I doing this to myself. We also offer hoodies. We have ladies tank tops. All that's available. Moving forward, we're going to add hats, shirts. It's going to be an ever-growing business. I also want to add that starting this coming Monday, I'm going to have a YouTube channel. at FMS Running. It's going to have a weekly blog. It'll be a quick 2-minute, 3-minute video thing. I'll give tips similar to what I have today about the proper footwear, running in bad weather, whatever it may be, whatever it may come. Each week I'll give a 2-3 minute tip in addition to keeping you up to date on whatever races are coming up once we're able to start racing again. I'll probably be giving tips on motivation to stay when you're not racing. I know a lot of places are offering virtual races. So I'm getting warmer to the idea of a virtual race. I miss the camaraderie of a regular race. There's something to be said that, especially particularly the long distances, if you have friends coming out through aid stations or whatnot, you see those people 20, 30 miles in, the lift is upright. You miss that on a virtual race. You know, the volunteers at a regular race, when you stop at an aid station, all that stuff helps you get through. People give you a boost. But in the meantime, I recommend picking out a virtual race. There's nothing wrong with them. Whatever helps you, whatever.
Oh, technical difficulties.
Oh, we back?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I was saying, I'm currently using a virtual race across Tennessee, which is 1,000K. It's about 666 miles or so. I have to finish that by September. So I'm using that as my current motivation. So, you know, go out, sign up for a virtual race, get some coaching. And, you know, most people, I know a lot of people return to work. Some people aren't. I see more people out here now than ever before running. I've never seen so many people on the trails. I've never seen so many people on the roads. To me, the sad part is 6 months from now, will those same people be out? Or is it going to be like a New Year's Day at the gym? Without the proper plan, they're going to set themselves for failure. And the sad part is they're not going to be out there. But if you're just running and you're looking for some guidance, you definitely should hire a running coach. And make sure you wear a gear when you're out there.
It's awesome, Ron. Appreciate you, man. I can't wait to meet up, have another get together with you and your brother and the families, and I'll definitely be supporting you, and we'll definitely be in touch.
Thanks, Sean. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Ron. Guys, have an awesome day. We'll be in touch. Take care.